Hello everyone, thank you for joining us today. We have our speaker Jaideep Prasad, who is a GSoC mentor this year and had been a GSoC participant for 2019 and 2020. He will be telling you all about Google Summer of 2021. Before moving ahead, let me introduce myself. I am Chanchal, DS lead of GSoC Institute of Technology, Gwalior. Without any further delay, let's start today's session. Over to you, sir.
Hello. Hello. Yeah, guys, please let me know if I'm audible. Please let me know in the chat box itself. Yeah, awesome, awesome. Yeah. Cool. Cool, guys. So let's start today's session. I'll just start with sharing my screen and let's get started with today's session, right? Just give me one moment. Yeah, just let me know in the chat if my screen has been shared and is visible to all of you. Just let me know if my screen is visible. Yeah, I guess it's visible now. Just let me it's visible. Yeah, cool. Cool. So let's start with today's session, guys. Yeah, cool. So first of all, welcome to everybody who has joined in today's session and wants to get started with understanding the process about Google Sum of Code, what it is, and how one can start making contributions to various all these different big organizations, and like how one can prepare to get selected in a Google Sum of Code season, right? So yeah, so that will be the agenda for today's session. So let's start with it. So just before starting, a brief intro about me. So hi, I'm Jaideep. Currently I'm associated in like building a platform for the student community which is termed as Mentor, and I'll share more details about the platform and specific links where all the students can gain benefits and access the services of what we are trying to provide. I'll share all the links towards the end of the session, right? And apart from that, I've done Google Summer Code twice with Aussie and POS Asia. And along with that, I've been software engineer intern at Drell Geo and releasemyad.com. Apart from that, I've been contributing to various other open source organizations like TensorFlow, OpenVForce, Flutter, Dartlang, and I've been mentors with them as well. So if you guys want to follow my work and like see what stuff I've been doing, you can just head over to at the rate JDV over GitHub, and you guys will be able to check out my profile, right? Cool. So that was about that, and now let's start with today's session more, right? So first question is like, and this is why I included it in the very first slide, is what is Google Sum of Code, right? So a lot of students who are complete beginners and even are quite new in this community and industry, they wouldn't be actually knowing what Google Sum of Code is, but want to know about more about it, right? Because they have been hearing a lot of people saying this stuff, right? So this is basically a open source program sponsored by Google, where various student developers who contribute to the various projects of these different organizations who get selected are get paid, and after successful completion of their work, right? So and also, like, apart from that particular definition, you guys should remember that this is not some internship or competition, right? This is not some internship with Google and or some sorts of like that. This is just essentially a mentorship program which has been started by Google to promote open source in the community, right? Google wants more students to get involved in open source development, and they want more students to know about what open source development is, right? So essentially the whole motive behind this program is to promote open source development among students, right? So that is the basic definition of Google Sum of Code, right? You once you get selected in this program, you are paid, like, once after successful completion of your project, whatever project you are selected in, and you get to work under mentorship of various good mentors of the certain organizations, right? Cool. So, proceeding on that, there is actually a timeline for Google Sum of Code, right? Which is, Google follows for the various events, throughout the season, right? So, currently, the current, slot is for the student applications, right? So, students can actually submit their applications and proposals for this season up till like April 13th, right? So if you any of you like have started contributing to different organizations in the past and like have got some experience, just go ahead and make a draft proposal, right? Include all your contributions. I'll share more details about creating your draft proposal and stuff later in the session, right? And but the thing is that since it's the current timeline says that you are allowed to submit a draft proposal, you should make a draft proposal as early as possible and get it reviewed by the mentors and submit once it has been reviewed, right? So you can get the full timeline of the GSoC period here. So I'll just show you, get you guys can take a screenshot of this particular web page for so that you guys can take a look later, right? I'll share these links in towards the end of the session as well, so you guys can take a look from there as well. So this particular timeline has the entire set of events and the time period around which those events will be occurring, right, for the GSoC 2021 season, right? So coming back, right? So that was about the timeline, right? Now proceeding forward, right? So there have been some changes this season, like, if you say that what was the difference since the last season and in this season. So Google has proposed certain changes, so let us just quickly go through what those changes are. So first change is that they have actually reduced the coding period. Earlier it was like a 3 month period of head down coding, but this time they have reduced it to a 10-week coding period, right? And also they have reduced the stipend which they used to pay, right, for or to students who successfully complete their projects. They have reduced it a bit. And apart from that, they have reduced the evaluations by mentors, right? Earlier there were 3 evaluations made by mentors, right? But this year they have like reduced it to 2 evaluations, right? One is the initial evaluation and the other one is the final evaluation, right? And apart from that, they have made the eligibility criteria more flexible towards more students, right? So that earlier what it used to happen that they had strictly mentioned that only certain students who are currently enrolled in universities or colleges, they would be able to take participate in the season, right, of a Google Sum of Code. But this year what they have done is that they have made it more flexible and open, so that various students who are currently pursuing a diploma or are studying in a some sort of coding boot camp or something, right? They can also participate in Google Sum of Code, right? They do not only need to be studying in a college or university. They can be studying anywhere in any field, but they are able to participate or apply for Google Sum of Code, right? So the flexibility of eligibility has been increased, right? Cool. So proceeding on, what are the steps that you guys need to follow? Like, what are the steps, in order to start your journey in the Google Sum of Code season, right? So first of all, once the organizations are announced that which organizations will be participating for a certain season, what you guys need to do is actually head over to the organization section over Google Sum of Code dashboard, right? And see which organizations have been selected, and choose some organizations which are related to your tech stack, right? Suppose you are an Android developer, you will be able to choose a filter of Android, and you will get all the organizations which are currently involved in development of Android projects. And once you check out their projects, choose a couple of projects which interests you the most, and start contributing to it, right? So again, I'll share the link. I have the link here for the organizations. You guys can take a screenshot of this web page again, right? So as you can see here, there are you can also search by any technology or topic, or even here are some pre-built filters, right? So suppose you are a web developer and you want to search for organizations which are related to web, right? So once you hit that filter, the organizations will get filtered which are currently working on web dev projects, right? So once you choose a certain organization, you can click on this learn more and submit a proposal button, and from here on you will be able to see what all they are proposing and what all you need to do in order to make a proposal, right? So different organizations have their different set of instructions, so please be sure to follow the instructions given in the, like, each organization's page wherever you're trying to apply, right? And also you can check out their code. There will be some, like, a website link or a GitHub repo link of organizations. You can just head over there and check out the code, and also you can just check out the ideas list for which they are proposing for Google Sum of Code, right? So once you see the ideas list here, you can, like, choose any idea, and talk with the administrators or mentors over the mailing list. So apart from that, like, see, here you will get a chat section and a mailing list section where you can discuss things with your core developers or administrators or mentors, right? So you can have a chat, you can mail them, right? And once you are happy with everything, you can submit a proposal according to what they are have are asking, right? So that sums up essentially the entire process, how one person actually comes to the organization page and chooses the organization and project, and then goes ahead to submitting a proposal, right? So coming back, so that was about that. So again, you guys, I will share the link in towards the end of the session, but you guys can take a screenshot as well of this particular web page, right? Cool. So now proceeding further, like, once you have selected an organization and a project, and you are ready to submit a proposal, so how will you create one, and what are the things you need to take a look before you start writing or drafting your proposal, and what things should be you know kept in mind while writing down a proposal, right? So first up is that your short personal info and past works should be present over your proposal, right? So until and unless you let the mentors or the administrators know who you are, like, they won't be able to, like, fully trust you, right? Like, if you submit some random kind of proposal, they won't be able to know who you are, or, like, what all things you have done in the past, right? So clearly you should, like, include your personal info, your past works, your skills which you have, and also make sure that you keep it very brief, right? Like, no need to elaborate a lot on these, but make sure you include the most important things which you have worked upon, right? And which you want to include, just be sure to include those, right? Now, coming next is that, plan what, how, and when you would be achieving the deliverables of the project, right? So when you go over to the ideas list section of a project, right? So there will be mentioned, like, what all things the project actually requires, right? There will be clearly mentioned that what they are planning, like what the organization is planning for a particular project, right? There will be a lot of ideas mentioned there. So what you need to do is that you need to plan out things, that how you will be able to achieve what they want, right? And you need to, which brings me to the next point, is that you need to break down your whole plan with clarity and technical details, right? So it's not that you just you plan out a overview of things and just write it down, right? So essentially you need to clearly break down the your whole plan and divide it into sub parts, and span it over a complete timeline of the 10-week coding period, wherein you will complete the whole project, right? And whatever the requirements are of the project, right? So this is very essential because it actually shows like the mentors, that how you are able to plan for something which you are trying to build, right? So this is very essential, that instead of just writing down a whole overview of plan, you just break it down and write it with complete clarity and technical details over there, right, in your proposal. Right. So that coming to the next point is that follow a proper timeline to complete the deliverables and try to finish the feature development 1 week early. Right. So again, as I mentioned, that try to break it down in a proper timeline, which you'll be following to complete the project for the GSoC period. Right. And also one recommendation is that make your timeline such that you can show the mentors that you will be able to complete the feature development 1 week early, because mentors also want know that if something overflows or if certain bugs happen to come, then the student has got a 1 week of time in their hand, where they can pick up things and finish them up, right? So always try to do that, right? And here is a very good proposal guideline proposed by Google itself, right? So again, here is the link, you guys can take a screenshot of this particular web page. Here they have clearly mentioned what all things you should put in to write a good proposal, and what are the elements of a quality proposal. So you guys can definitely take a look here, and before you start drafting your proposal, it's a great guide, right? And it's officially written by Google, so it will definitely help you guys out, right? So again, I'll share this link towards the end, but you guys can take a screenshot, right? Cool. So coming back, yeah. So now a lot of students, ask what are the prerequisites for me, like if they are complete beginners in this field. Like the most common thing is that, okay, I understood about the program, but are there any prerequisites, for me to, start looking into this particular thing, and like how can I achieve it, right? So the most like common prerequisite is that you should be, familiar with any one programming language, right? Like be it Java, C++, Kotlin, Python, JavaScript, right? And with the respective tech stack, right? Like suppose you are comfortable with JavaScript, then you must know like web development, right? And in the same way, like if you're like comfortable with Java or Kotlin, then you must know Android development, right? Like so, always try to pick up the corresponding tech stack, right, with whatever programming language you are comfortable with. Because when you are selected in Google Sum of Code, you are actually required to develop some particular project with that particular tech stack, right? It won't be that you will be just required code with some particular programming language, but you will actually need to develop some sort of software with the help of a particular tech stack, right? So make sure you have that covered, right? And once you do that, make sure that you have already made 2 to 3 cool projects, like intermediate level projects with the particular tech stack you have chosen, right? 2 to 3 projects are completely fine. Like this is all about so that you have the self confidence in yourself, that yes, if a certain organization chooses you, right, you will be able to complete their project, right? So this is all because, so this is all so that you guys can have that self confidence in yourselves, right? Right. So again, so now coming next is the version control, right? So now a lot of people ask what version control actually is. So this is again like a topic to discuss for another day, but all you need to know is about like how to use Git and GitHub, right? So version controlling system is typically done through Git, right? S- and most organizations nowadays use like GitHub or GitLab to host their projects online, right? So also there is another service called Bitbucket, but most popularly, most of the organizations have have GitHub or GitLab, right, where they host their projects, right? So you guys need to have a clear understanding about how the Git workflow actually works out, right? With respect to GitHub or GitLab, right? Because this is essentiality of open source development, right? Like until and unless you have clarity about this thing, you won't be able to actually start contributing to open source. So make sure that you have got a clarity about how to work with version controlling systems and Git and GitHub, right? And once you are done with that and you have a tech stack chosen, wherein you have made a couple of good projects, and you have that self confidence in, I believe that is enough, more than enough, for you to get selected for a Google Sum of Code and start contributing in a project, right? You don't need to be some sort of expert for to get selected in this program. It just requires you to know the basics well, right? Like the version controlling system, working with Git and GitHub, you should know it like properly from basics, right? And you should be familiar with one tech stack which you have chosen for the project you want to work upon, right? So these are the very basic prerequisites for this program, right? Right. So, like going forward, the most important thing is that you should be able to make contributions, right? So this is a very, basic backbone for you to get selected, right? Like most of the students, like 70 to 80% students who get selected in Google Sum of Code, they have actually, made some past contributions to the project which they get selected, right? Cause it actually, cause their past contributions, when mentors select students, they actually look for past contributions, right? So this is essentially a very important point to include in your proposal as well. Like if you have made any past contributions to any projects of that organization, be sure to include it in your proposal and clearly elaborate on that, right? But if one is a complete beginner and wants to start making contributions, I have like written a couple of points here. So let's just go through that. Is that first of all, you should understand about the project and get clarity on the code base, right? Like before doing anything, like before you even start drafting a proposal or anything, right? Like once you have chosen a project or you have chosen any organization and you are wanting to work on that, be sure to get the understanding and clarity of the project and its code base, right? Like without understanding the project, you won't be able to work, even if you get selected, right? So this is a very important thing which most students like look over, right? Like they directly jump onto writing a proposal and making contributions, and that actually makes them more confused, right? So this is essentially a very important point, is that first of all understand the project. Like if you have selected any project, first of all understand it, like what it does and where the things are present in its code base, right? Like understand what all features are there, what all possible bugs are there. Like a complete understanding should be there, right? Like even if it not the most top level understanding, but like basic or intermediate level understanding of the project should be there, right? So this is a very essential point, right? Like next, coming to the open issues and PRs, is that like once you are familiar with the code base and the project, like check for open issues. So like more often than not, most repositories will have a lot of beginner level or easy to fix open issues on their GitHub repositories. Just go through them and like check out which issues suit you, or you are able to understand, or you know that you will be able to fix those issues. Like comment on those issues and get a approval from the mentor that yes, you can carry forward to create a pull request for that issue. Like once they approve, just create a pull request and have a discussion over that pull request if any code changes are required, right? But if not, the maintainer will merge your pull request to their code base, right? If it's completely fine, right? uh, right. So also the most major thing is that discussions, right? Like having discussions over issue threads and community channels, or over pull request threads, right? It's a very important thing, right? Because more often than not, you will want to have like healthy developer relations with mentors and administrators or co-developers in your community, right? Like if you are working on a certain project, a lot of other people will also be working with you, right? So you should primarily focus to have some good developer relations with them. Like you actively contribute in discussions over community channels. right? So that mentors or administrators also keep an eye on you, that yes, you have been actively participating in, like project discussions or idea discussions. And they also know that yes, a certain person is has been active in their community and has been working for a long time. So the trust factor and the faith factor is more towards those students, and the mentors give them a higher chance of getting selected, right? Because they know that these persons have been contributing to their projects for a very long time and have been discussing ideas and things over the community channels and threads, right? So they know that those students will be able to work on the project if they get selected, right? Yeah, so once you do that, you will be making pull requests, getting them reviewed, making changes if mentors ask it, and get them merged finally, right? So this is the whole pipeline of making a contribution, right, from start to end, right? You guys can take a screenshot. This is a very important couple of points for new contributors or people who are just trying to figure out how to what are the steps to start contributing towards projects, right? You guys can just take a screenshot of this slide. It will definitely help you guys out, right? Cool. Yeah, so talking more about the community interactions part, right? Like a lot of people have this intimidation that they don't want to put out things in the community channels or something, right? But I will definitely say that just get involved in discussions actively, right? Like until and unless you start, you won't be able to know, right? Feel free to ask any of your doubts you have, like regarding the project or anything on the community channel, right? And also, like keep in mind that do not try to ping some mentor or administrator personally until and unless it's like very much important or personal kind of thing, like until and unless it is a sort of thing like that. Just make sure that you keep everything on the public community channel, right? So that everyone gets to see that what kind of ideas you are having towards the project, right? So this is again a very important point, because these actually build up healthy developer relations with your co developers, peers, and mentors, right? And this actually increases a chance of you when mentors review proposals, you have a better chance of getting selected, because you have been involved in community discussions and project discussions over some couple of months. And the mentors also think that yes, you have been involved and what goes on in the project, right? And you will be able to work if you get selected, right? Cool. Right. So going forward, important thing is that if you are a complete beginner, like if you're looking to explore this field, right, is that don't get demotivated, right? Like the consistency is the key to success, right? Of course, like whenever you start, like initially it will look like it's a bit tough, right? Because you will be required to if you're a complete beginner, right, that is the case I'm saying, that you will be required to learn the workflow of Git and GitHub, right? And then again you will need to learn about a tech stack, and be comfortable in the tech stack, make some 2 to 3 good projects in that, so that you get the self confidence, and then start contributing to big open source organizations and their projects, right? So that is something which will take time initially, right? Like if you're a complete beginner, right? But the most key thing is that you shouldn't get demotivated in any stage, because consistency is the key, right? Like even when you start contributing to various projects and organizations, right? Like it shouldn't be that yes, you have made a 1 or 2 contribution and then again you have got silent for say 2 to 3 months, and after that you are again continuing. It shouldn't be that. Like you should be an active contributor to any project or any organization you choose, right, over a certain period of time, right? Like you should consistently be involved in discussions, help other people, right? Like make pull requests, fix bugs, make feature developments, right? So it should be on a consistent basis, so that whenever the time comes for Google Sum of Code, like the mentors also know that yes, you have been already working on the project for a long, like say the last couple of months, and you will do justice to the project if you get selected, right? Cool. Yeah, so what are some of the benefits of contributing into open source, right? Like why should you even contribute into open source, right? So first of all is that it will improve your coding skills, right? and it will actually give you an insight of how code is written at an industrial level, right? Because most often that not the organizations and the projects where you will be contributing to will have will have their softwares publicly available, right? So there are actual users who use those software, right? So that once you start contributing to those code or projects, right, you will actually get an insight that how the code structure is, like how a code quality is maintained or how an architecture is created, right? All these things you will be getting to know, and like it will actually improve your coding skills and give you a better understanding of things, right? Yeah, so coming next is that your network actually increases when you work with different people from different places, right? So when you get involved in all these kind of community discussions and interactions, right, it actually increases your network. You get to know a lot of people, like you get to know a lot of like-minded people who knows you can be working with them in the future as well, right, in some other project, right? So you never know about those kind of things, so your network actually increases. You get to meet like-minded people, you get to talk to them, and have a discussion over project ideas and things, right? So you actually also get to understand the process of the software engineering, right? So when once you start your career in the field, right, like once you get a job or you go ahead doing some other internship or some other kind of job in this technical industry, you already, once you are done with Google Summer Code, you already know like what are some of the key things which are required in the industry, right? Like how the code quality should be maintained, how architecture should be built, right? How you should discuss with fellow code developers or mentors or managers, right? So this is something which you actually get to learn like in Google Summer of Code, right? Through uh, your mentors and your peers who are working with you, right? And lastly, you actually get to create something which benefits the community, because as I said earlier, more often than not you will be working on some software which is publicly available or is going to be publicly available, right? And once it gets actually completed, you will have that inner satisfaction that some other people are actually using that software and getting benefited, right? So that kind of satisfaction is at another level, right? So these points are very most important, like if you're thinking about what are even the benefits of contributing into open source, right? Cool. So yeah, thanks guys. So that was it for me, like for today's session. Like I'll be taking up questions now, right? I have planned about a Q&A session, right? If you guys have any question, you can throw me in the like chat, right? And apart from that, if you guys want to connect with me over LinkedIn, this is my LinkedIn profile URL. I'll share all these links over the chat as well, right? You can also like DM me in Twitter. I will be more than happy to help you guys out in any query. If you guys have any query, just feel free to drop me a DM or message me over LinkedIn or mail me. I will be more than happy to help you guys out, right? Right. So apart from that, like as I said, like I'm currently associated, in building something for the student community, right? So we are actually trying to take a very practical approach. Even in the current days, most of the people, most of the students, are not able to, visit their campuses and get actual industry level guidance, which is not provided by campus in any way, right? So we are trying to provide a one stop destination for students by utilizing all the free resources. These are not some paid courses or something. These are actually free resources and videos of spread all over the internet, but people find it hard to get, right? We have organized this it all together in a very good platform, right, where you can follow those resources step by step and get upskilled in any domain, be it like data structures and algorithms, Android development, web development, machine learning, right? And lots more, right? So we have got all those kinds of resources, some of the best resources out there, right? We have organized it completely for students to get upskilled in any domain, right? And also we have the latest internships, jobs and opportunities all at one place, right? And also some features which we are going to make it live this month. You guys can take a look at us, like we are Mentro. Like you guys can take a look at our website, we are mentro.tech, right? just check out the website, and feel free to drop me any thoughts and feedbacks you have. You can download our official Play Store app. We have it on Play Store for we currently support Android devices. You guys can just check it out and let me know what is your feedback, right? Yeah, and we are having one-to-one mentorship sessions as well, from mentors who are currently working at top companies like Google, Microsoft, Flipkart, Amazon, and many more, right? We have got mentors who will be there to help you out in any kind of help you need, right, on a one-to-one basis, right? So this is something which is a very practical approach towards, rather than just creating big courses and taking money, rather than just taking the typical approach. We are trying to take a very practical approach in the current situation where we students are not able to go to certain places to study and stuff. But if they are self-studying, they can definitely leverage the services which we are trying to provide and get upskilled, right? So yeah, so as I said, you can download our official Android app over Play Store. You can just go on and search Mentro. You will be able to download it. And we have a very active Telegram channel with mentors, and who will be able to help you whenever you have questions, right? Like whenever you have questions in any domain or anything, you just drop it on our chat, and we have mentors who will be helping you out then and there, right? You can also get career guidance, doubt clarifications, and much more, right? We also post latest internships, jobs, and opportunities there. So I'll post the link in the chat itself, and you guys can join, and you guys can ask questions over there as well, right? Cool. So that is it from my side for now. Like, I'll be taking up questions now. If you guys can are having any questions, you guys can put it in the chat, right?
Thank you, sir, for the session. We have questions in the chat. The first question is, can a Flutter dev participate in GSoC? So, sir, would you like to answer it?
Yeah, sure. So definitely there are flutter organizations, right? Like one of the most famous organization is that Dart itself is participating in Google Sum of Code, right? Like Dart is the language which we use to write Flutter applications, right? So Dart itself is participating, and they have Flutter projects with them as well, right? So if you guys can check out the actual organization page, you guys will be able to see what kind of flutter projects they are having, right? And even the organization which I am like mentoring, right, like we have our own flutter project, right? Where you know I personally have worked in the past, right? So I'll be mentoring that. You guys can check that out. Like if I am able, I'll share the links. Like I'm not able to actually see where I could share the link, organizers, could you help me out, like where I could share the links which I have promised the attendees, the organization links and things. Like, should I drop it in the private chat?
So you can put it in the chat, and we will have it on the
Okay, cool, I am
yeah,
dropping it in
and
the
we will
private
have
chat.
put it in the YouTube live
Yeah,
chat.
yeah, yeah. Cool, I'm
Yeah,
just
thank you, sir.
dropping all the links in the private chat. You guys can take a look there. I have listed out all the organizations which are working with Flutter, right? You guys can take a look from there. Meanwhile, if you guys are having any more questions, you guys can just feel free to let me know.
Yeah, there is a next question that what about those who haven't started contributing, don't know how to contribute? So, what about complete beginners? Yeah, this is the next question.
Right. Yeah. So those who haven't yet started contributing or don't know how to contribute, like as I said, that is the case of a beginner, right? Like you actually need to start your work from now onwards. You don't need to think much about how you will be actually getting selected in this year. Like it will be a bit tough for you because you haven't yet started anything, right? But this is again, this is entirely a process, right? Don't just go after this program entirely, because this is again a certain program which actually is for promotional purpose of open source among students, right? Google has started it. This is not a certain competition. You should actually think it about in that sense, right? So it will be most likely that you start your contributions like with, first of all, you start you're making some own projects and like push it over GitHub, right? So that you understand the workflow of Git and GitHub. And then you can check out some other projects of other people and some small organizations, right? So that you get to understand like how things are working there. And once you are more confident enough, you just go and search for all the big organizations which have been participating in Google Sum of Code over the last years, right? Yeah. So that will be that. And again, apart from that, you guys just can drop me any questions you have over LinkedIn, and I'll be more than happy to help you guys out personally. Like if you are having trouble over starting your open source contributions and how you can start, I'll be giving you personal help if you guys need that, right? So yeah, so that will be my advice if you're starting out with your contributions, right?
Absolutely. Next question is like, what sort of skills we need to apply for GSoC?
Yeah, so as I also mentioned it in the session as well, is that most primarily you will be needing, the understanding of version controlling systems, right? Like you should be, able to use Git and GitHub, right? How that flow works, right? You should first understand that, and again, before anything, you should also have chosen a particular tech stack, right? Like tech stacks in the sense like you should be familiar with web development or Android development, right? And then you can go ahead and search for projects which are currently proposed by all these various organizations, right? So the basic prerequisites for applying for this program is that you should be familiar with Git and GitHub and its workflow, and you should be comfortable with a tech stack which is used in the industry, right? Majorly like Android development, web development, and right, machine learning and these type of domains. Again, flutter development is also something which is coming to the forefront, right? So just take a look on those domains, and you can just start exploring those, right?
Amazing. So our next question is, so complete beginners will find it hard to get selected this year, given we have 4 days for proposal. So like this is similar to our previous question,
Yeah.
but if you would like to add something to it.
Yeah, so sure. So yes, so definitely, like if you are a complete beginner, definitely it will be like a bit tough this year, right? Because first of all, you will be needing to understand a project. Because see, primarily forgetting about any of this program or anything, right? Like first and foremost is that you need to understand about the project which you want to work in, right? Which itself actually takes like say maybe around a couple of days or like around a week maybe if the project is big, right? Like for you to understand the code base and things, right? So, like even if you get selected, until and unless you have clarity what the project actually does or uh, how you will be working on it, it's no of use if you are getting selected for that project, right? So first of all, focus on the basics, right? Try to start learning and exploring, right? And if you are consistent enough, like you have more than a fair chance of getting selected in any organization of your choice, like in the coming year or so, right? But the thing is you need to be consistent enough, and whatever points I mentioned in today's session, like if you do it over a like consistent basis over a period of time, you will have a more than fair chance of, and like that is more than enough for you to have a fair chance of getting selected in any organization of your choice, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So next question is, so first they select us, then interaction happens on community channels, right?
Yeah, so again, like community channels are always active. Like it's not that once you're selected, after that you will be able to interact with other people. community channels are always active. You can even head over to their chat list. Like most often than not, most organizations have they're chatting over like Gitter channels or Slack channels, right? And you can definitely go ahead and start talking to your peers and administrators there itself, right?
So next question is, currently now I am from first year, and when should I go for GSoC as a beginner?
Right, right. So see, there isn't a certain year bound thing. This is not certain year bound thing. Like you can crack GSoC in any year. Like I myself have cracked GSoC in my first year of college, right? So I won't tell that it's not possible for anyone to crack GSoC in their very first year. But the thing is that you should primarily focus on basics. It's not like people get selected in their last years, or while they are pursuing their PhDs as well, right? So most important thing is that you should be familiar with the basics, as I mentioned, right? You should be familiar with Git and GitHub, right? You should be familiar with the proper tech stack. You should have made projects over there, right? And then you can go ahead, start contributing to all these various organizations and their projects, right? And even as a beginner, I have shared the Telegram channel as well. You can we will share personalized guidance over there for open source contributors who are currently looking to explore the community and domain. And you guys can definitely follow that for if you're a complete beginner, and you will if you follow that path, I guess you will have a more than fair chance of getting selected in GSoC or any project program at all, right?
Yeah, and the next question is, what are the most languages which are likely to be learned for participating in GSoC?
Yeah, so there isn't any such foundation for certain good languages, right? But I will say that web development projects like JavaScript projects and Python projects are like in abundance, right? Like if you go ahead and search for JavaScript or Python projects, you will get a lot of projects, right? So yes, I will say that some popular languages are JavaScript and Python, but apart from that, there are other languages as well, like Java, Kotlin, Dart. All these languages are also equally popular. But if you are a beginner and trying to explore, I will say go for JavaScript projects, and learn JavaScript and web development first, right?
Yeah. So next question is, how we can contribute to open source apart from GSoC to improve coding skills?
Right, right. Yeah. So definitely, there are other programs as well, and not even programs. Like don't just bound yourself with any kind of program. The open source community is like ever active, right? Like if you decide to start contributing today itself, forget any program. You can just go ahead and start contributing, right? No one would be able to tell you anything, right? So it's always like ever open, and the community channels and discussion sections are always active. You can take help from people anytime, right? But being it the peak time of GSoC, it's a very good time for even beginners to start, right? Because the most active people are in these community channels and will be able to help you out, right, is during this time. So even if you're a beginner, I would say this is the best time for you to start contributing to any organization or any project you think of, and start asking for help and guidance in the community channels as well, right? So yeah, so definitely you can contribute to open source throughout the year whenever you like, right?
Absolutely. So if we have more questions, feel free to drop in. Oh, okay, so there is another. What will be the first step for GSoC? Means in which area we have to be good. Like what should we start working upon
Yeah,
first?
so see, parallelly you there aren't such steps as of such as I mentioned, the most primary prerequisite is having one tech stack in which you are good in development, like be it web development or Android development or machine learning or flutter development or anything. And parallelly is a version controlling system, like using Git and GitHub, right? Because this is not Git and GitHub is not a tech stack. Actually, this is something which you know is a utility thing, right? Which you actually work with while developing projects for yourself, or contributing to any other organization as well, right? So I would say the primary thing or the first step would be be familiar with a tech stack, right? And being comfortable with using Git and GitHub, right? So that will be the basic primary step.
Okay, so there is one question. There are lots of organizations participating in GSoC, but only few are selected. Then how we can pick the organization which can be selected?
Yeah, so like you can check for past years, right? Like there are these GSoC archives that which stored all the organizations which have been getting selected over the last year, right? Or the last years, like for the last 2 to 3 years. And you can definitely frame idea from there, like uh, which organizations have been getting selected for the last year, and which are most famous organizations, right? Like from there you can judge and start working on couple of their projects, right? But again, if you want, like if you want to ask any personal kind of questions, like if you are thinking that whether certain organization will be getting selected or not, or what are their probable chances, we have ongoing discussions with top mentors over our community channel. Telegram channel as shared by the DSC group. You can just join it, and we have active discussions, and we have mentors from various organizations as well who will be able to help you.
Absolutely. Okay, so these are the end of the questions. Now Chanchal will be here.
Thank you everyone for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed the session and got your all your questions answered. Thank you, sir, for giving us your